This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Habemus Papam.
You heard it here on Relevant Radio yesterday, chances are. Welcome back to the Patrick Madrid Show. We're going to talk about our new Pope, Pope Leo XIV. And there's a lot of information for you if you are wondering who he is, where did he come from. You know he's from Chicago. I think everybody knows that by now. I saw a picture, Cyrus, on X yesterday. I retweeted it. And it shows, you know, he's just casually Robert Prevost, Father Robert Prevost. Probably at that time he was a bishop. He's just casually talking into a cell phone at the World Series game, dressed incognito. So the caption is, hey, here's the Pope at a World Series game in Chicago. And he's just talking into a cell phone. I think it's great.
I love it. Yeah.
So very interesting. Everybody's wondering, okay, what can we know about this? And so let's get into a few things for the new Pope Leo XIV, our new Pope Leo XIV. So you heard the words of the cardinal whose job it is to say in elegant Latin, I announce to you with great joy, we have a Pope, Habemus Papam. The whole world knows that Latin phrase now, Habemus Papam. And he took...
Habemus Papam.
There it is. Habemus Papam. Papa in Spanish means potato, but it also means Pope in this case. Interesting juxtaposition. So the newly elected Pope Leo XIV began his first homily today. He began, as you would imagine, in prayer and celebrating Mass with the College of Cardinals in the Sistine Chapel. And so we have some audio. This is from courtesy from Vatican News, and this is the beginning of his homily. Now, the homily was preached in its entirety in Italian, as he says at the beginning, but he wanted to speak at the beginning in English. And a lot of people are trying to read the tea leaves, and what does this mean? And he's speaking English, or he's not speaking English. Does this mean anything? I don't think so. He's the Bishop of Rome. And in Rome, yes, it is the universal city, that's true, but you know, he's the bishop of that city as well as being Pope. And the two go hand in hand, of course, and they speak Italian there. And Italian is one of the languages that would be in common for most of the cardinals. So since he's speaking to them, I don't think that there are any tea leaves that need to be read as to how come he didn't deliver the homily in English. Is he slighting the United States or anything? No, of course not. Nothing like that. Let's begin with his own words. This is the very first sermon/homily preached by the very first American Pope. It's even amazing to even be saying those words. Pope Leo XIV, elected yesterday. Let's listen.
I'll begin with a word in English, and the rest is in Italian. But I want to repeat the words from the responsorial psalm. I will sing a new song to the Lord because he has done marvels. And indeed, not just with me, but with all of us, my brother cardinals, as we celebrate this morning, I invite you to recognize the marvels that the Lord has done, the blessings that the Lord continues to pour out upon all of us. Through the ministry of Peter, you have called me to carry that cross and to be blessed with that mission. And I know I can rely on each and every one of you to walk with me as we continue as a church, as a community of friends of Jesus, as believers, to announce the good news, to announce the gospel.
Let me give you some background on our new Pope, Pope Leo XIV. So he was born Robert Francis Prevost, and yes, you'll hear people pronounce that last name differently. You'll hear Prevost, Prevost, Prevost. So take your pick, but what seems to be the most consistent pronunciation of his last name is Prevost. He was born on September the 14th, 1955 in Chicago. He was elected yesterday, as you all know, as the 267th Pope, the pontiff of the Catholic Church who's reigning now. His election took place yesterday, May the 8th, 2025. The announcement was made yesterday. I don't think pretty much anybody thought it would be likely that we would have an American Pope. So here we are. We now have an American Pope, and that popularism is out the window. He's also the first pope from the Order of St. Augustine. So he was born in Dolton, which is a suburb of Chicago. He was born into a Catholic family, went to Mass on Sunday. His father, Louis Marius Prevost, of French and Italian descent. He was in the U.S. Navy during World War II. His mom, her name was Mildred Martínez. She's of Spanish and Creole heritage. She was a librarian. The little house that he grew up in, Cyrus, I saw yesterday on social media, assuming it's accurate because you never know, but the little house that he grew up in, like one of these post-World War II little houses that they built millions of, apparently it's on the market right now. I wonder if the price is going to go up since yesterday.
I bet the demand for that little property is going to go through the roof.
Yesterday it was selling, in the morning it was selling at, $199,000. And today it's probably a few $1 million. I don't know. I haven't looked back at it, but it's just interesting. I mean, he grew up in a suburb of Chicago. He was very active. His family was very active in their local parish, St. Mary of the Assumption. He served there as an altar boy for years. The new Holy Father has two brothers, Louis Martin and John Joseph, so they're giving the middle names as well. His maternal lineage goes back to New Orleans, and he has roots in the Creole community. His maternal grandparents, Joseph Martinez Ramos and Luis Baquier, were married in New Orleans in 1887, so this is going way back, maybe great-grandparents in that case. They later moved to Chicago, so it gives him a little diversity, which he can draw upon. Apparently, he has been drawing upon. So he attended the Augustinian Major Seminary in Michigan, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from Villanova, and he graduated there in 1977. He entered the Order of St. Augustine in 1978, professed solemn vows in 1981, and was ordained a priest in 1982. He pursued theological studies at the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, and later he went to Rome and studied at the Angelicum and received a doctorate in canon law. That was in 1987. A little bit of a timeline here. I want to give you kind of a chronological way of looking at his life. So born in 1955, September 14th. As you just heard, he graduated from college in 77, entered the seminary in 77 also. He was ordained a priest in 82. He earned his doctorate in canon law in 87. And then he went to Peru. And he served from 1985 to 1987 in Peru. He didn't go to Peru immediately following his canon law degree. He was in Peru, but then he went to Rome, and then he went back to Peru. He held a variety of titles. So from 1988 to 1998, he was, among other things, he was a seminary professor. He worked in the diocesan chancery, did pastoral work, etc. In 1998, he became the provincial superior for the Augustinian Order of Priests in Peru. And then he was elected the prior general of the Augustinian Order. That's for the whole world. And he was elected the first time because he served 2 terms as the head of the Augustinian Order globally. So his first election was in 2001. Then he was reelected in 2013. Then in 2014, he was made the apostolic administrator of Chiclayo, which is a diocese in Peru. And then in December of 2014, so a little over a month went by, he was made the bishop of Chiclayo, and he was consecrated by Archbishop James Patrick Green and became the bishop of Chiclayo. So he was consecrated as a bishop on December 12th, and then he was made bishop the following year by Pope Francis. He, in 2015, sought and was granted dual citizenship with Peru, so he received his Peruvian citizenship in August of 2015. In January of 2023, he was appointed the prefect for the dicastery for bishops. He was also made the president of the Pontifical Commission for Latin America. Let me explain what that means for you. So the dicastery of bishops is the Roman dicastery that reports directly to the Pope, or at least the prefect does. And it is in charge of the final vetting process and recommendation process for any man who's going to be a bishop anywhere in the world. It all goes through that congregation. And there's a process. So in a diocese where there's going to be a new bishop coming in at some point, they're beginning at the local level, they canvass the local people. So the presbyterate of the diocese, the priest of the diocese, prominent, significant lay people in the diocese, certainly the bishop of the diocese, other areas, other dioceses in the area will give recommendations. Oh, I think Father McGillicuddy would make a good bishop, and so on. So these are sort of gathered and sifted and eventually sent on to the papal nuncio. And the papal nuncio has a whole process with his staff of trying to winnow things down to make it something more manageable and more likely that they're going to have a series of candidates who will be likely to be approved by the Pope, whoever the Pope is. Then it goes to the congregation. And the congregation for bishops is a very powerful congregation because it determines, unless the Pope says, no, I don't want any of these recommendations, start over again. And that does happen, I'm told. In fact, I was told this by Cardinal Rigali, who was at that time, he was the secretary for the Congregation of Bishops. This is back in the early 90s. I had dinner with him, and over the course of a long dinner, he explained this process, and he said sometimes, when we bring him what's called the terna, T-E-R-N-A, or ternus, it is the list of 3 finalists. These 3 men, after all the process and all the canvassing and all the input and all the recommendations, and no, I don't think this would be a good one and all that, they come up with this final list of 3 candidates to be chosen. One of them will be chosen by the Pope. And as Cardinal Rigali explained it to me, because he said he even, in his capacity as the secretary, when the prefect was unavailable, at that time it was Cardinal Gentine, sometimes he was the one who would go in and sit with Pope John Paul II, and they'd spread out the manila folders on the table, and they'd look at them and discuss them, and the Pope would ask questions. And he said there were a couple times when the Pope said, none of these. Give me somebody else. Let's start over again. And not that the Pope said what his reasons were. But that's a very important process, because when a man is named to be bishop of any diocese, he has gone through his folder, his dossier, has gone through this process. So, point being is that our new Holy Father, Pope Leo XIV, he used to be the head of that dicastery as of just 2023. So in 2023, he was made a cardinal by Pope Francis. In February of this year, he was made a cardinal bishop with the suburbicarian see of Albano. You're saying, what does that mean? Okay, there are 3 grades of cardinals. You have the cardinal deacon, the cardinal priest, and the cardinal bishop. And this, to some extent, involves seniority. It also involves importance, the prominence of the person in the Roman Curia. So the lowest level, if you want to think of it that way, because cardinal is an honorary title in any case, it's significant, but it's not something, let's say, in terms of the sacrament of holy orders, higher than a bishop. Every bishop has the fullness of the sacrament of holy orders. But cardinals are men whom the Pope chooses to assist him in particular ways in the Roman Curia, or it is that they are the bishop of a diocese where it's customary for there to be a cardinal, because it's a very important diocese, for example, a very ancient diocese, for example. And so the cardinal deacons would be like the newbies, the guys who are just recently made cardinals. Typically, they're made cardinal deacons. They have less oomph, less clout, if you want to put it in those terms. They're still cardinals. They're still widely respected, highly respected. But there's less, maybe gravitas, you might say, for some of the things that they're doing. Now, cardinal priest would be more. Cardinal bishop is the top level of the College of Cardinals. And so at his tender age of being in his late 60s, he was named a cardinal bishop. After just being made a cardinal, a matter of a few months earlier, he was then made, not quite a year and a half earlier, then he was made a cardinal bishop. That's a significant honor. Then the next thing you know, he's standing on the loggia at St. Peter's Basilica yesterday, and he is revealed to us, announced to us as the 267th Pope of the Catholic Church, who took the name Leo XIV. Like what you just heard? Share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.